Hello, everybody. Welcome to our session today. So I have to say that I'm really thankful that you came. I was hoping, since we got the Friday mid-morning session, I was really glad we didn't get the Friday last session, but the Friday morning session, we got the mid-session. So thank you for coming and joining us today. I know that most of you have planes to catch, and it really means a lot to me that you came to visit us to talk about AppV on your last day, one of your last sessions. Thank you for coming today. So, to set this up, there are many whirlwind tours of AppV and UEV out there. We're going to start deeper today and get deep into how you can use UEV and AppV. If you are interested in these in a whirlwind session, you can go back to Microsoft Virtual Academy has Steve and I both for AppV and UEV. We go start from this top and give you a get down deep. Or you can go to a previous Channel 9 Tech Ed North America or Europe session. We have plenty of those. Today we wanted to get deep and really try and go there. So how many of you are using AppV4? Raise your hand. So about half the room, excellent. How many of you are using AppV5? The same people, about half the room again. How many of you are using VDI? Oh, most of you, okay. How many of you are using physical devices? Most people, excellent. So that's kind of what we expect. So I'm Aaron Ruckman, Senior Program Manager at Microsoft. I am the product owner for AppV, and I've owned UEV as well. And this is my co-speaker.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas. I am a senior consultant. I work for Microsoft, but in the Americas Enterprise Services, most commonly known as MCS for Microsoft Consulting Services.
Excellent. So during this presentation, we will have a few slides, but we're going to try to get to 5 or 6 deep demos. So let's get started. Pretend with me that this is you. And perhaps you might have a scale that hangs over your head. Now, it's figuratively speaking, of course, not a true scale. And you have pressures that bear down upon you, like application and profile management. Perhaps you have many packages, many AppV packages out there. And perhaps you want to convert these packages to UEV templates, or many of you perhaps might want to take these 4.6 templates and convert them to AppV5. Perhaps you've had troubleshooting. How do I troubleshoot AppV? Everything's great when everything goes right, but what happens when something goes wrong? What happens if you have your VDI environment and you're trying to compress as much golden images, as many images as you can? How can I do that so maybe you have some VM bloat. Oh, perhaps you have long cycles where you can get an app, you get a license. By the time you've gone through the application acceptance cycle, by that time 3 versions have come out, and all of a sudden the application is still before your users can even get there. Maybe that happens to you. I don't know. Perhaps you're still using roaming user profile, and you have a profile bloat that makes VDI or other things impossible for you, so you have a gigabyte of information that you have to move from one place to another. So perhaps you feel this way. Now, do you feel the pressures of the IT world bearing down upon you, just like Atlas? Let's get out from underneath that today, and let's become like Ken Jackson. Look how relaxed he looks. Wouldn't you like to become like him? I know I would. So let's discover why he feels this way. So today, Ken, like perhaps you, he has a ton of AppV packages, and he wants to generate UEV templates. He has a sequencing machine that he already has a sequencer put on, and it's a VM. And wouldn't it be great if he could install the UEV generator on that same sequencing box and either be able to de-virtualize his AppV package, use the generator to then generate UEV packages, or take, as he's sequencing, gets the package right, then generates his UEV packages right in the main stream for his everyday work stream. Steve, why do you think this might be important for customers?
Because it simplifies the process, especially with their existing package factory where they've already gone in and they've already virtualized a lot of packages. And not only that, they may not even have access to the native application installers anymore. All good reasons. So let's talk about how to quickly do that. Whoops. So, like I said, in your package factory, you've got scenarios where you may have existing ATV packages. And so the easiest way to generate templates is to install the sequencer and the template generator on the same machine. Then, through the sequencer, and I'm using PowerShell here, you could actually use the UI, but you can expand the package to local disk. What that does is that devirtualizes the AppV package into a native installation, as if it were natively installed. And the reason for that is when you actually generate a UEV template, which is what we're going to do here with the template generator, and of course there we see Adobe Reader is actually installed now locally because we expanded the package. We have to have the application already installed natively in order to capture the settings using the UEV template generator. But now we don't have to actually maintain separate VMs for UEV template generation and ATV sequencing. We can essentially take this template generator, create a local settings, a settings location template using the actual wizard, and I'm going to browse. And again, we're not browsing to any virtual path, we're actually browsing to the native path. And we'll select the executable, Acro Reader 32. And of course, if you have any optional command line arguments, you would use those as well. And UEV will automatically elevate itself. And now it's waiting for Adobe to launch, and it's actually going to launch Adobe or Acro Reader. And with a lot of modern applications these days, we have a great mechanism of initially capturing the settings and the preferences. But, well, in addition to me being lazy, I'm also paranoid, and I've learned that you only have to be right once to make paranoia worthwhile. So I will actually, after I launch the application, I'm actually going to go in and click a few menu items, especially make sure I bring up all the common preferences screens, because I want all these locations, whether it's in file locations or in the registry, to actually be properly discovered. And so I'm going to go to preferences and click around. Now, meanwhile, and I know I get some feedback about this window being in the way. We've heard your feedback on that. Once I am done with selecting all of my preferences, this is going to wait for the actual executable to actually exit. Once it gets word of that, it will then begin to actually go through the finalization of the settings locations as it's doing right now. And so we'll let that finish, and then we'll click Next. And we'll look at all of the standard and non-standard locations for both registries and files. All of this looks good. Make sure we don't capture any kind of extraneous stuff that we really don't need. So far, so good. And then, of course, finalize the properties. Product versions are very specific and very important. And then we just simply go and save the template, and we're good to go. Now, the workflow would also be if you, let's say you had an application that you haven't actually packaged yet with ATV, and you also need to generate a UEV template generator, you can still take advantage of the same virtual machine. You can sequence the application, copy off the sequenced application, revert the VM, bring back the virtual application, expand or devirtualize, and then generate the template, and then copy off the template, and there you go.
Excellent. So, what we've done in this segment is we've taken some of that burden away from Ken, from you. And so we haven't entirely removed the burden because you still have 4.6 packages. But those of you who've been trying to think about, well, how can I make UEV packages easy? We've now given you a way to do that. So we still have to think about the 4.6 packages. And while we're at it, let's think about how can we address our stale packages. Let's get those packages out to our users in a way that is fast and flexible, in a way that they can, so you can immediately get the ROI that you had always expected to get from your applications and not have to continually be involved in stale applications. So we'd like to interrupt this presentation for a couple of announcements. We are announcing today UEV 2.1 SP1. And the key pieces to the UEV announcement is Windows 10 support. Those Windows 10 desktop settings that are coming on new, we will support most of them. And we've heard from you that you wanted us to, I get commonly, Aaron, what about network printers? What about network printers? Aaron, what about network printers? Well, we are now supporting network printers and also roaming the default printer as well. The other thing that we're doing is we heard from you that some of you out there have a lot of applications, a lot of templates. We're talking in the thousands, right? Lots and lots of templates that you want to push down to the machine, each box. And so we did some work to make that experience better as well, improve performance. The other thing that we heard is in 2.1, we took away the ability to automatically install and choose the AD home drive for your setting storage location path. We realized that was a mistake, and we're bringing that back in 2.1 SP1. Great. So that's UEV 2.1. It will be available with Windows 10. That's when you'll be able to get bits to install and download. We are also announcing AppV 5.1 today. So the main key things there are we really want to help you drive adoption from 4.6 to 5. And really, what we're saying with this 5.1 release is that this is the time when AppV is really ready to go, which is why we decided to go with a 5.1. We've had a lot of service packs getting us ready to go, but now 5.1 is ready for prime time. And so if you've looked at it when it was 5.0 RTM, we invite you to look at it now. Come back, look at it, because we've done a ton of work in the last 3 years to really make AppV better. We've been iterating and driving improvements into the product, and now we think it's ready. That's the feedback we've gotten from those of you who have been with us through that journey, that it's ready now. To help with that, we've done work in our package converter to not just migrate the Q drive, but also mitigate those places in your DAT files and your INI files where you have the Q expression. And it's not just the Q drive. If you've used some other drive than the Q drive, we'll also do that as well in the conversion. We've also added multi-scripts on triggers. So if you have happened to use scripts in 4.6, our conversion process will not only know about those, but also convert them. And if you want to start using multiple scripts on a single trigger, you can do that today as well. The second pillar is Windows 10 support. We have added a ton of functionality into the packaging editor, and we'll show that. If we have time at the end, we'll actually show a demo. And we'll talk more about that in the next slide. We've also removed a lot of the copy on write exclusions. We had 58 exclusions prior to 5.1 in the copy on write. Post 5.1, we will still have 4. And these 4 are for reasons because, well, you shouldn't be modifying DLLs in your application or your OCXs or your COM objects. So those still will be there, but we've dramatically reduced that. And in so doing, many more applications now have started just to work. You sequence them and they just start working. It's amazing. The other thing that we've done, we heard from you that in SP3, we fixed the merge issue with our packages for the file system within our connection groups. We have now added merging of environment variables and other variables within our connection groups as well. So that's something that should be big as well. What do you guys think about that? Yeah? Excellent. The next thing that we've done is we've modernized the server. We've kept it in parity for the most part, so there's not a learning curve there in terms of functionality, but we've really done some work to bring it into an HTML5 MVC Razor model. And so from that, you'll see a more modern experience, and we've addressed a number of things. We'll actually show a demo of that. The final thing is, how many of you have tried using our debug logs? Not many. Oh, one. And it's pretty tough, isn't it? Yeah, he's shaking his head, yes. I am too. We internally started doing some analysis about how long did it take us to use our debug logs, and realized that that's a place that we were spending a lot of time too. And if we were spending time, you guys must be confused. And so we spent some time to unify our debug logs into a single log. And so now debugging using our debug logs in the event logs is much simpler. Again, available with Windows 10. Let's talk about the package editor. The top one is really cool. So today, with 5.1, you can export out your package manifest, edit it. Be careful when you edit the package manifest. You can do bad things. But we'll validate the schema as we import it back into your package. And this should help for things like, we commonly get, well, Aaron, I want a license, right? Add scripting right into the package manifest. How can I do that? You can do it via this import-export. We also allow you to import directory of files directly into the VFS. Same idea. Helps you with licensing your application, really helps our ISVs out. And then in terms of virtual registry, we've now added a find and replace dialog within the registry. And that's really cool. This is something that's been well overdue, I think. Also, you can import and export .reg files as well, so those will just get automatically applied. And one thing that we've heard is that the path, how do I know what path I'm actually going to be in when I'm in the virtual registry? We actually show you where that's going to be now in the lower left button, or lower left part of the pane. Finally, if you have multiple packages and you've just sequenced them, we've captured the BHO. And sometimes after you've started testing BHOs together, you realize that one works and one doesn't, or they both stop working. You can go back into the package editor and enable or disable BHOs, so that way you have more control over which BHO is live. Let's talk about the management console for a second. I'm not actually going to talk about this slide because I'd rather get into a demo. Who wants to see a demo? Me too. Okay. Let's go into a demo. Excellent. So this is my VDI environment. Imagine this is Ken's server, right? And you'll notice that we have a couple of packages installed. The first is we have a Google Chrome, and we have Mozilla Firefox. We also have IE as well. You'll notice, first off, that these packages are AppV packages. I mean, what would it be like if I had an AppV session without having AppV packages, right? So this is Google AppFeed, Firefox AppFeed. I have a Notepad and a Paint.net. And what I'm going to show you, first off, is the fact that this is a modern experience. This is our new server, very modern, very light. And what you'll notice is that if I minimize it, we actually have that full modern web experience now with the menu system. We also have promoted connection groups to the top level. So now instead of poking through the connection groups, everything comes up. You'll also notice that we don't have an HTML page. This is MVC Razor as well. Okay, let's talk about the accessibility. Also, you'll notice that when we click on these things, we have the full context menu. And everything that's in a context menu now has a button because we've improved the accessibility side of the house. And we've also done work as well. I'm not going to show it today, but high contrast for your accessibility users. We've also done a lot of work in that area as well.
Why, Aaron, I noticed that browser is not IE.
Why? No, it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything more about that. But let's go into IE. If you want the best experience, of course, IE and Spartan, IE and Edge give you the best experiences for our web browser. We haven't done things not to make it better, but there are some things that IE just does better for you in terms of intranet controls. And those come, and Spartan does the same that Google and Firefox don't give you. And so, and there's no way for us to work around it. We've looked and we've looked, and we'll continue. Maybe we'll push on Google to fix it. I don't know how successful we'll be, but we can always ask. So this is my IE, exact same web interface. And now what we want to do is go ahead and import a package. And so you'll notice that I have Adobe Acrobat DC. This is the latest Adobe. And I'm just going to go ahead and import or add that package. Now you'll notice that, number one, we no longer have the overlaid notification menu system, which was a real pain. And now you can either dismiss all, dismiss one, you can come off, you can come back, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll show you an error here as well. So if you just add semicolons, for example. Whoops. So there we go. So there we have lots of packages. And you can see if I want to just get rid of one or come back, I can. I can also dismiss all. So we've done improvements there as well. So let's go into the package now. And what we're going to do is a package has a single default configuration that you can associate to a package on the server, and that gets deployed everywhere. Okay? You can also have many custom or user deployment configurations as well associated to a specific entitlement as well. So for the Adobe package, we're going to go and import our configuration. There we go. And what you'll notice with this is that you no longer have to scroll down to get to your shortcuts, but it's all much more clean in tabs. We still maintain the previous functionality. If you want to add scripts, if you want to do something more, COM integration, you'll need to export or go to that configuration file and make modifications there, but we do provide the same functionality. The other thing that I think is cool is that if you're collaborating with a colleague, you no longer have to explain, okay, you need to click here, then here, then here, then here. All that you need to do is grab the URL, put it into an email or however you communicate with them, and voila, it browses directly to the point where you want to get to. No more explaining where you have to click. It all just happens very naturally. All right. So now that we've gone and edited the deployment configuration, let's go ahead and entitle the user. I'm just going to entitle to all corporate users. And this is where you could, if you wanted to, go and edit the user config. I'm not going to do that in this case. Instead, I'm going to keep it with a default configuration. And the last step, of course, is publishing. So I'm just going to go down and publish. And now, my Adobe Acrobat has just been queued up to be synchronized to all my clients. That simple. Okay, so now you'll notice that I just switched context to another non-IE. I'm using Firefox in this case. Let's switch to Firefox. And let's figure out how you do connection groups within the server. So also, I just want to point out that you still have the ability to go and look at all of your publishing servers. You still have the ability to go and do administrator access, as well as we maintained the same filtering. So if you have thousands of packages, you can go in and just get a package name, application name, AD access. You can see what date, time. So we have the ability to filter as well. You can also group your packages. So if you have multiple updated packages out in your infrastructure, for example, Office or Java or whatever package you have, then those will all show up in a group format as well to make it easier for you to search. But now, what we're going to do is we're going to add a Notepad++ group, because, let me just run up here, you'll see that we have multiple Notepad++ packages. And if you went to Tammins and Britton Zerker's presentation last night on connection groups, you would have seen why you need them to put them all into the same connection group. And we're just going to exercise this really quickly. So I'm going to create a Notepad++. I am then going to give it some packages. And you'll see that we have several Notepad++ plugins that I can use. And the key here is you want to add package access to group access. What that does is that it takes all of the entitlements for these packages and will, as soon as you add them to the connection group, will make the connection group have the same entitlement without you having to do anything. So that's kind of save a couple strokes there, some time that you want to do. Now, the other thing that you need to know is that you need to make sure that every connection group has to have one mandatory package, one non-optional package. And all the rest of the plugins can be optional, just like that. And optional means that the connection group will be valid even if the plugin is not there. And the other aspect that you need to understand is use any version means that it will take the last package added to the catalog on the local box, and it will make that package be the one that it uses. So any package in the last package written in the catalog will be the one that's chosen and not version specific. And these two options help you to get away from the 12-step process of adding a package, adding connection group, enabling a connection group. Oh, I just made a change. Disable the connection group, remove the connection group, remove the package, update the connection group, re-add the package, republish the package, re-add the connection group, re-enable the connection group. So this becomes more simple. You add the package, add the connection group, enable them, and then you come back, and if you want to update a package, just update the package, and it automatically will be captured by your system. We save the changes. And now you'll notice that built-in users was automatically entitled to the connection group. You'll notice that we can see the IDs for the group ID. And the last thing we want to show is priority. So priority, if I have a priority of 0, that means that this package will be the one that's chosen. Damon did a great job yesterday of describing that in great detail. However, the key thing to remember is that lowest priority wins when a connection group contains 2 packages and you launch that package. So if you have 2 packages, Notepad++ in 2 different connection groups, if If they have the same priority, then neither connection group will be valid and will not be created. If one has a smaller connection group priority, that one will win, and we'll use that virtual environment to load the package in. So I'm just going to make this a level 5. We also have the ability to add a connection group description. So there, that is reflected. And now we will publish the Notepad++, and it's been queued up to be rolled out to our users as well. It's that simple. So that is the AppV server in a nutshell. So what have we done so far? We've just discussed how we can take your AppV 4.6 packages, convert them over to 5.0, and we've also, with the management server, made it easy now for you to take those still packages and keep them live and fervent and vibrant on your machines without having to have a really long deployment cycle, because I think this is the key point that you probably need to take away, is that with the AppV server, you don't have to roll those packages into your golden image, but you can take the golden image, apply the package, and your testing cycles can be shorter because you're not having to worry about the full operating system rollout. And so, oh wait, who just popped on there? Oh shoot. What about ISVs? Now, ISVs are a very interesting place because we don't want them to be a burden on you. Instead, we want them to partner with you, and let's figure this out. So over the last year, we've spent considerable time working with Adobe as one of the ISVs, and a really great example. And they have published official UEV templates to go with their new Adobe Acrobat suite. We're also working with them in the next few months. You'll see an official AppV template or recipe come out as well that they will support, and you'll be able to use that recipe to create your AppV packages. And if there's an issue, you can go back to them and they'll help support you. And we've spent a considerable amount of time. Now, this is just one of. How many of you heard the announcement last week in Project C? Oh, excellent. So not very many. Project C is mainly a development-focused effort which will enable AppV to go more public and more wide. Now, Project C isn't going to necessarily hurt you, but will help you, because what will happen is that more ISVs will come in and have AppV packages available, and then you'll be able to download and consume those directly from the ISVs. It'll be something that's really great. If you want to know more information, I have a link down at the bottom, down to Project C. The presentation that they did last week at Build is fantastic. I would go and encourage you to watch it and find out more information if you're interested. So, because we are working with ISVs, they shouldn't become a burden to you, but they should become a help to support you in your burden and not be a weight down on you. So Steve, what about application management?
Well, what we found in the field is we have two approaches to AppV, because we have two ways of managing AppV. We have, of course, the traditional way, which is the AppV management console and the publishing servers, but we also have Configuration Manager as well, with Configuration Manager integration into AppV. So let me ask a question real quick. How many of you using AppV are delivering your applications using the management or publishing server? Now, how many of you are using Configuration Manager? And what was the number one reason? Probably because you already had Configuration Manager. And that's the thing. Configuration Manager is the default recommended way that Microsoft would like you to deliver software, and that also goes for AppV. Now, as you can see, we are investing in the AppV management server and publishing server, but the Configuration Manager side is just as hot with investment. In fact, We have heard from the configuration manager team that they are continuously updating CM 2012 R2 for AppV improvement. In fact, this latest update rollup 5, actually speeds up the delivery of virtual applications in non-persistent VDI scenarios.
Cool.
In addition, how do you manage your client configuration? Well, we believe in combining both the uses of Configuration Manager and the use of group policy to not only deliver applications, but also allow you to centrally manage your AppV and UEV client configuration. So let's take a look at that. All right, so here I have in Ken's world a server where we're going to pre-stage a whole bunch of UEV templates. And of course, they're along with the default inbox templates, which we always recommend you use. We have some additional templates as well, including templates for not only some additional native applications, but these same templates will be applying to some virtual applications as well. Particularly, we've got a virtual deployment of Chrome coming and a virtual deployment of 7-zip coming as well. And then, of course, we are staging our storage path for Ken and his fellow users in his office as well. And then it comes time to take advantage of group policy. And so Ken has already downloaded the MDOP ADMX templates, which are available for free on the Microsoft Download Center. And he has already imported the ADMX files into the Group Policy Management Console, and we're now going to actually deploy some policies for both AppV, the AppV client, and UEV. So he's got an actual group policy already created, and we're going to take a look at this and edit it. And we're going to expand, and under Computer Configuration, Administrative Templates, and you'll notice that for the AppV configuration items, they are actually located under the system container inside the group policy. So we're going to take a look at some things that we want to control via group policy. Sometimes people want to use that to toggle on and off shared content store. Biggest thing, of course, is package scripts. That's a big rookie mistake a lot of times, not turning on the support of scripts. You may want to make sure dynamic virtualization is turned on. You want to also make sure that you have, if you're redirecting things like integration root user, integration root global, that's also configured as well. You might want to turn on client coexistence as well. Now for the UEV settings are going to be optionally either in the user side of things or in the computer side of things. Now Ken is not using this at the user level. Ken is, if you notice, Ken is actually going to go to the computer container to actually take a look at the UEV settings. And you'll notice the UEV settings are not under system, they're actually under the Microsoft Windows component. And the most important thing that I use this for, and that Ken will use this for, is to centrally manage the registration of UEV templates. A UEV template has to be registered, and group policy is one of the simplest ways to do this from a centralized standpoint. Otherwise, you'd be having to script all of this stuff using PowerShell. So we've got the template catalog path, we've got the setting storage path, all of that is controlled through group policy. Now what comes next? Well, we've got to make sure the client gets deployed, and then of course we're going to have a distribution method of distributing the applications. Now, some people like to use the application model to deploy the AppV client and the UEV agent. Ken here is still using classic packages for the client deployment because a lot of times the client, depending on the existing software that may be installed, you might have to customize the client package. You might want to not necessarily use the built-in executable that has the runtimes pre-packaged. You might want to pre-stage the actual Visual C++ runtime modules that are actually required. But it's just as simple as deploying the client and the agent as you would deploy any other software elements. Please bear in mind both pieces of software contain filter drivers, even UEV. So if there are existing versions, it's going to require a reboot. But if it's a new installation, it will not actually require a reboot. That's a common misperception here. And so, in addition, now we use the application model. While you can deploy the applications using classic packages, we highly recommend you embrace and take advantage of the SCCM app model, as there's going to be continued investment on this side. This is the future of AppV deployment. Don't you think, Aaron?
It absolutely is. It's the gold standard.
So, and not only that, we can actually deploy our AppV virtual environments as well. And if you listen to Tam and Karen's presentation yesterday, it gives you the option of doing both optional connection groups using the or, and connection groups as well, which are mandated connection groups. So, all right, now we're going to put all this together, and Ken Jackman's going to log on. With a name like Ken Jackman, he's already cool. So, yeah.
He is cool.
Yeah, so we all want to be like Ken. All right, so Ken's logging on here. And Ken's going to have his Google Chrome and 7-Zip, but it doesn't matter if the applications get there. If the experience is not working properly, then the settings are not going to roam with him. So I'm going to, in the effort of due diligence, check out the configuration and make sure the configuration got properly brought down. Did it get brought down? Let's see. So we're going to do get UEV client configuration. And wait for it. Wait for it.
I'm sure it's coming. Oh, there it is.
There it is. And of course, my setting storage path, my template path, all of that is properly there. That's exactly what I wanted. Again, sync methods, branding, all of that stuff can be pushed down through group policy as well. If you want to turn on or off Windows 8 app synchronization, that can be controlled by policy as well. And then, of course, the second most important thing, I need to see if all my templates got registered. And a lot of templates are registered, but I want to make sure my custom ones are there too. What I find is a lot of organizations go ahead and register a lot of templates, but they ran into some performance issues, which I believe has been rectified with 2.1 SP1. So go ahead and pre-deploy your templates as many as you possibly can. And of course, I want to make sure that my AppV client configuration got properly brought down through group policy. And again, the thing with the AppV client configuration is I want to verify what came down through policy. And the nice thing about the AppV client configuration command is it tells me what settings are actually coming down through policy. And there's my policy settings there for just a few configuration items. So that's good. All right. And next thing, of course, is to test the launching of the applications. That seems like a logical next step here. And of course, there's Google Chrome. And Google Chrome, I'm going to verify that this is indeed the virtual Google Chrome, and it is the virtual Google Chrome. I could have also done a get AppV client package as well to see that that's actually deployed. And I'm going to launch Google Chrome. I'm only going to launch it because I want to trigger UEV to make sure it captures the settings. I'm not connected to the internet, so I'm not going to get very far, but that's okay. I really want to simply make sure that it captures my settings and my settings get properly uploaded. You may have saw that quick flicker of the UEV agent popping in and not necessarily interrupting, but hooking into. And then, of course, we're going to do the same thing with 7-Zip, and 7-Zip is going to launch that. And the reason I'm focusing on 7-Zip and Google Chrome is because they're virtual, and I want to make sure that you understand that whether it's a virtual application, whether it's a native application, the way that UEV hooks in and captures and stores settings and then pushes settings or brings settings in is agnostic of whether it's a virtual application or a native application. So let's go look at Ken's settings here, and there we see there's 7-Zip, there's Google Chrome, and of course, because Ken has been using Windows, a lot of the Windows stuff is there, roaming creds. I've got a template in there for the command prompt as well. And the PKGX files are in place. And that makes Ken a very, very, very laid-back admin, doesn't it?
We like that, don't we? Oh, yeah, let's get it up. So, using Configuration Manager and Group Policy, you can really streamline and make your deployment of AppV and UEV into your environments robust and flexible as well, making it a very dynamic application delivery experience. So that falls away, flies away. Peace, happiness, right? Joy. So that leaves us with VM bloat and profile bloat. So perhaps you have been dipping your toe maybe into VDI. I know that there are a lot of you that aren't in this room currently using VDI, but maybe you're just kind of looking at it and thinking, is that really where I want to go? Using AppV and UEV, we're going to show a demo here in just a second that'll help you to really eliminate or reduce the VM bloat to maximize the amount of VMs you can have in your VM as well. And also, many of you are using RUP, and so using UEV, that allows you to do just-in-time management. Oh, Steve, what just came onto the... Who put the tortoise on the scale?
You caught me.
Oh, sorry, man. So the tortoise is there because sometimes a lot of the problems that we're hearing about in VDI is that the logon is too slow. And it's not really a good experience because you have 15 minutes before you see those settings. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to give you some strategies for how to make that VDI come on even faster and eliminate the tortoise. Excuse me. So what we're going to show today is this is a user's desktop in one of Ken's organizations. It's Windows 10, and what you'll notice is that I have Adobe Acrobat right here, and I'm going to just choose a couple of preferences that will be easy to see in Documents. I'm just going to reverse these three. So remember, restore the last view, allow layer, and allow documentation. So now we're going to close that. And then we will go ahead and, this is a VDI environment, as you'll notice. So I'm going to sign out. And signing out, what that does is it comes in, and this is a true VDI scenario. It is going to, in just a second, restore my image back to the golden. I'm going to scorch the image. Then I'm going to come back and restore it. And what I'm going to do today is I have a stopwatch right now. And when we come in, I'm just going to set it up here. And now it looks like it's just about ready. We're just going to let it go to steady state. Because on the background, what's happening is that it's re-imaged the box and then it's setting itself up so that way you can log on with any user. And now we are going to go back into that image. And I'm going to turn my timer on so that way you can see it. We'll move this guy over here. And, oops, move this guy over here for just a second. I just want to be able to see. So we're going to do this cooking show style. Allow this to bake while we talk about what's actually happening on the back end. So the first thing that happens is when I add my publishing server, you'll notice that we have false here, but when we add our publishing server, I think I did that for a different demo, we actually add these scheduled tasks, and it no longer exists because I took it out. So if you remove it from your scheduling task, it actually removes it. But what this is doing is that it adds a scheduled task, and on logon, it detects that you have the AppV server. It then queries your AppV server for any packages that are there. It looks to see what you have locally, and then it goes and grabs the packages and pulls them down. And so this is what it looks like. And then the other thing that we've done, and so that time to go and query the server is pretty fast, actually. In my current environment, oh, we might blink and miss it. Hold on a second. There we go. Let's move this guy over here. And let's make sure that we don't miss. So we're at about 1:30. It's about 30 seconds to log on. This profile that I'm using is very vanilla, very standard. This is actually probably the worst time you're going to see. We're expecting about a 2-minute logon here before we see the icons on the application. I'm sure that there are things you can do with group policy, with mandatory profiles, with local policy. You guys are creative. And instead of me trying to do some magic to make this faster, I wanted to show you that it could be slow, or that this is probably the worst case, and you guys will be able to make it, optimize it in your environment in the right ways. So the other thing that we've done is that we've added an AppV publishing template. And this AppV publishing template, what it does is that it stores off your publishing data, which is the big stuff. So if you have huge, complicated, complex, large packages that you want to stream down to the user's box in the VDI timeframe, we found that you will see streaming benefit in copying those down as an autonomous UEV package rather than pulling them down incrementally via the AppV publishing server. And then finally what we've done in this environment is you'll notice the desktop background came up right away. You didn't have to worry about it. We have this VDI template which will hold off the logon until you have all of your VDI settings for UEV, the UEV configuration settings down, the UEV, so basically we're bootstrapping UEV with UEV. And then your VDI environment will be ready to go and all set up when it's there. And, oh, I missed it, sorry. It's about 2.5 minutes in my demo. And you'll notice that we have this now. Okay, so now, the other thing I wanted to show was this guy right here. My golden image is really simple. It's less than 10 gigabytes because that's the operating system for Windows 10. It has the 2 agents, and it has a full Microsoft Office included in it. The reason why it's not 14 gigabytes or larger is because I'm using Share Content Store to stream the bits. And so that means that when we do an add the package into, we do an AppV add AppV package, client package, it only pulls down the PE headers and doesn't bring down the full data files. And so my Office, even though it's huge, is only about 200 megabytes or less of header files that it's going to install into the main image. And since it's published globally, that's the key. It only works for applications that are published globally, and Office has to be published globally, and it can only be, you can only have one Office package on your box. So that works really well. It means you get 200 megabytes for a 2 gigabyte package. And if you are in your data network, then this is actually faster than fault caching because you don't have the write operation to write down the bits and slow down your box. So we found by independent testing that that's the case. So the cool thing about this now is that we'll go through here, and we have our Adobe Acrobat, of course, again. And we'll go into here and look at the preferences. Again, this was a scorched box. We'll go up into Documents. And my settings didn't come across for some reason. I apologize. But it was working this morning. I'm not quite sure why it didn't work right now. This is a live demo. I know this works. You'll see the desktop backgrounds did actually come across and so forth. So there must be something there in my demo magic that didn't work. Or maybe there's something else here. Let's try this. Could be an Adobe bug. Not that they have any bugs in their software. Oh, it's because I didn't click OK because it crashed on me, didn't it? Yeah. That was my bad. Okay, so demo person problem, not anyone else's. Let's move on. You can try this. It's really simple. It's awesome. Okay, so we're going to quit this guy. And so summary then, the key things I want you to take away from this are really, it's all about performance. And in my testing, I was able to get about, if I published the golden image into my package, if I was able to publish the Office into my golden package, I saved about a minute, and it was about 45 seconds difference in @V publish time. And the VDI template preparation, that only added about 10 seconds to my time, and this was a full image. I mean, I had Adobe, which is about a gigabyte that I was downloading. I had a full Chrome, which is about 500 megabytes. I had Firefox, which is about 50 megabytes. I had 12 other packages from Paint.net and Notepad++, which are two very complicated connection groups. So this was something that would be not demoware, but something that I would expect your users to also be having some similar environment. So it wasn't something like that. So publishing Office saves you about 25%. And in my demo, I added 2 CPUs, and I said, well, how much time will that give me? And that added an additional 33%. So if you can add CPUs to your VDI, the logon time will dramatically increase as well. Finally, the new VDI template that we provide that you can register will make sure that your UEV settings are there right when the desktop is loaded, and everything will be much happier. So now that we've reduced the VM bloat and using the @V shared content store and a combination of streaming apps and publishing global apps into your image, those go away. And this also eliminates the tortoise from the equation. So probably the most interesting thing that's going to be on our scale at this point is not what happens when everything goes right, but what happens when things don't go quite so right. Steve?
You rang?
How can we make this better?
Well, for starters, the @V product team has done a lot to make this better by improving not only how we troubleshoot, but reducing what we need to troubleshoot with recent iterations of @V. Even a lot of times when we're troubleshooting something, we actually find root cause. The root cause might actually be inside the design of the product. Sometimes it's a bug. So we make changes to allow for more and more applications to be successfully virtualized. Not only virtualized period, but can actually go through the standard sequencing process. So let's look at a little bit of history over the past few iterations. First of all, a big set of improvements were brought about in 5.0 SP2 Hotfix 4, primarily VFS write mode remediation. Another way we look at it is we call it virtual admin mode internally, but VFS write mode remediation resolved a lot of application issues with @V5. Finally, in 5.0 SP3, the event logs were consolidated drastically. And in addition to that, a lot of improvements were made in how connection groups are orchestrated within @V. And again, another quick plug for Taman Karen's presentation as well. Now, something that independent software vendors will appreciate, some of you might appreciate this if you ever like to do debugging with WinDBG. We actually now have public debug symbols for the @V client side and server side for starting with SP3. So you can actually, if you want to do some serious deep dive troubleshooting, and software vendors may have to if they're trying to make sure that their applications work right when virtualized under @V. And then finally in 5.1, probably my favorite improvement is cow exclusion remediation. Anybody remember the problem with preferences in Firefox? That's a primary example. Well, due to the fact that the Firefox people saved their preferences in a JS, that JS extension got hooked by the cow exclusion filter and was not allowed to pass through. Well, that and several dozen others have been removed. That resolves a lot of issues, like, for example, MATLAB. So those are what I think are the huge improvements over the past few iterations of AppV. Now, if you follow my blog, blogs.msdn.com/gladiator, you know I love to troubleshoot. And so we're going to do a little bit of troubleshooting right now. And I'm going to troubleshoot VFS write mode when you encounter an application that's failing when virtualized under AppV, how you actually go about remediating it and discovering that that is indeed the problem. So we're going to use procmon. I love procmon. But first, we're going to look at the symptom here. All right, Notepad++ is a great tool because there are certain ways you can sequence it in AppV to where it will purposely fail. And we see, oh, we got an error here. Load langs.xml. Oh, this doesn't look, oh, this looks, oh boy, oh, yeah, something tells me this isn't going to be stable. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be stable. All right, so let's bring up our good friend, Process Monitor. Procmon, no connect. Get rid of that annoying EULA prompt up there. So we're going to launch it. And of course, Procmon, there's an art to Procmon, being able to time it just right, number one, and number two, associate it with the error properly. And number three, filters are your best friend in Procmon. So we're going to turn on capturing. I'm going to launch Notepad until it comes up with the error. Okay, and then I'm not going to click OK. I'm going to immediately stop capturing because don't want a lot of noise and a lot of capturing of recovery. I want to actually pinpoint this error. So now I have my capture, and I'm going to create a filter. And the beautiful thing about that error is that error has a file name. So I can easily create a filter where the path contains langs.xml. So don't forget to add. Click OK. And look what we got. A lot of create file operations. Now, get out of the 4.x mentality. You're not looking for access denied. Not with the new VFS in V5. In fact, it's just not going to find it at all. Name not found, file not found. And the reason is because it's opening the file with a specific mode, particularly the share mode, read, write, delete. Now, if this is in program files, it's not going to be allowed to open a file for delete. That wouldn't be a pretty good idea. No, it wouldn't. And so what we're going to do is we're going to turn on for this application VFS write mode. And the nice thing about turning on VFS write mode is all we have to do is simply go and edit the package. You don't have to wait till 5.1. You've been able to do this since 5.0 Service Pack 2 Hotfix 4. And it's very simple. You go over to the Advanced tab here, and you check the box, Allow Virtual Applications Full Write Permission to the Virtual File System. You know, I kind of give it away that it's a bad package when I have it in the name, don't you think?
I think so.
All right, so now we're going to do two things here again. We're going to test VFS write mode, but we're also going to capture it so you can see the differences in how this is going to appear under Procmon. So we're going to load that same filter because we're going to see different results. So load that down. And I'm going to start capturing, this time using a capture filter. Either way, you can use capture filters or you can use filters after the fact. I'm going to load Notepad. And Notepad is moving along, no errors. Notice a lot of additional functions are popping up. We're getting beyond create file. You're going to still see some not found, but it's going to get redirected properly to the user mode VFS. And because the VFS write mode is turned on, it's going to create this, but it's going to be redirected to the user mode VFS. And we see lots of successes. That's what we want. And it's a lot easier to go through 80 events than 679,000 events. And of course, we see all of the same operations now being returned success, but if you notice where they're actually writing is in the user mode VFS, not in the actual immutable package cache. We want to make sure that's clear, because if we were to blow this package state away, we'd be back to square one. The immutable package is still not modifiable. We just do a lot of work under the hood to make it appear that way. All right. So, in the time we have left, I want to talk about the fact that App v5 is heavily integrated now into Windows through scheduled tasks, leveraging CAPI, leveraging native real NTFS, using the real registry. So, with heavily integrated applications, you have to troubleshoot the solution, not just the component or the product. And the reason you want to be careful doing that is because you don't want to get bogged down when things aren't always what they seem. So we're going to take us back in time to Windows 7, when AppV was first released. Now, a lot of things were done with VBS and scheduled tasks, and we noticed there were a lot of problems with commands taking long and scripts taking too long to process. So we would measure this stuff using the measure command in PowerShell. How many of you use measure command in PowerShell? It's a great tool for rudimentary performance monitoring and for capturing how long time takes. So we noticed that in a lot of these scripts, especially on the configuration manager side, there would always be an import module function. And when we further started dissecting, we found that the import module would take an extremely long time, 15 seconds. And this would show up in symptoms involving synchronizing with the AppV client, with the AppV publishing server, configuration manager, taking a long time to publish applications. What was causing this delay? Well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to enable the CAPI2 log in the event viewer. Do some ETL tracing here. And we're going to run the same measure command again. And still took 11 seconds. That's still way too long. I mean, that's 11 seconds compounding what else is happening in your script. Well, if you go back to the CAPI2 log, CAPI is Cryptography API, we'll see that we're actually trying to actually verify something. What are we trying to verify? Oh, we're trying to verify certificates. We're trying to verify perhaps a signature. Well, what kind of signature? Well, anytime Microsoft and any other software company actually releases scripted code, our scripts have to be signed, and we have a signature block. Now, of course, the default behavior is, of course, to verify signature blocks. But what if you're in a connection that's isolated from the internet? And you don't have access to the certificate revocation list, for example. Well, it's going to wait and wait and wait and time out. And of course, that timeout can create an extraneous delay. I demonstrate this because a lot of times on the internet, there's complaints sometimes about AppV being slow. Make sure it's actually AppV that's causing the slowdown and not something else within Windows that might be being leveraged by AppV. Always isolate. Root cause, definitive root cause is always important. And with that, we kind of shrink troubleshooting. You're never really going to get rid of troubleshooting, are you, Aaron?
No, it's always going to be there. But perhaps you've now learned some tools today which will help you to minimize the troubleshooting effects and be able to maximize your ability to find those issues and turn around a fix, or at least diagnose the issue. So we started this presentation with a huge scale over our heads, wanting to know what Ken did to be so relaxed and comfortable. So during the course of our presentation, we've removed those barriers, and now we hope that you've taken some tools away to make you feel just like Ken Jackson, relaxed and ready to go, confident in your ability, and ready to move forward. The call to action for you today is to prepare today for the MDOP release this year, which will be available with Windows 10. Number 2, if you are a 4.6 user, or if you've kind of been dabbling your toes into 5.1, now is the time. 5.1 is our release. It's the time to start moving forward with app v5. And finally, for the VDI users, there's an announcement in, we want you to try Configuration Manager 2012 R2CU5, there's the KB, because that has some optimizations and will help make the VDI experience faster for if you're using Configuration Manager. We've started a user voice where you can come and tell us what you want us to work on. And that's the URL to there. We actually have quite a few topics already. Feel free to come out, add new, vote for what you want. You have 3 votes. Make them count. Also, like always, our forums are always there for you to go and give us feedback. We do have 2 more sessions today. They conflict. One is going to be about UEV in 10 and migrating, and the other one will be Office 365, both right after this session today. We hope that you'll go to those. Also, go back in time and look at some of the other MDOP sessions as well. Please don't forget to give us evaluations. Tell us how we did. We love having high scores. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great conference. Enjoy your day. We'll be available here for questions until they kick us out. Thank you.